This is the Human AI Experience, a space for creative minds shaping the future, empowering you with the right tools, insights, and real-world stories to harness AI and elevate your creative work.
On today's show, Denmark is making history and headlines by proposing a new law that would give people copyright over their own faces, voices, and bodies. It's a bold move to combat deepfakes, misinformation, and AI-generated content gone wrong. So we're going to talk about what it means, why it matters, and how this could reshape how we think about identity in the age of generative AI. I'm Daniel.
I'm Mateus.
And this is the Human AI Experience. So let's just start, because this is a new law that has been proposed by the Danish parliament, right? What does the law say? So the Danish government is really worried about how AI is really progressing really fast. So they want to give people legal ownership of their likeness, meaning your face, your voice, your body movements, anything that can be digitally copied. So that means if someone creates a deep fake of you without permission, for example, you can take it down. You will have the law in your favor to ask them to take it down. And you can even seek for financial compensation if that causes you a lot of harm.
It's funny to think that we don't own this stuff right now, because if they're creating a law, it's because you don't own this stuff, And this is more concerning than even the law itself, to be honest. Okay, so I don't have the right of my voice, face, and anything, or is it just
I think you do. That's not the point, but I think they need some sort of strong, some sort of regulation or some legal. They need a law, because then it's easy to reinforce, right? And then it's basically consumer rights. And I think the idea here, and we're going to talk about, is to combat how powerful the big tech is, right?
Yeah, and of course I'm joking about that, because the thing is that you should have the right anyways, but it's it's a new way of protecting the people. So I feel it's interesting to see how they are treating that matter,
And there's a few points, right, just to go through what the law actually says. So it's not just about privacy, it's about intellectual property, basically. So your face becomes copyrighted material. It should be, like you said. I'm 100% sure. It's crazy that this technically it's not. But now let's say we're officializing that, which is good. So it also applies to it applies to any realistic AI-generated imitations, from fake news videos to, fraudulent voice clones. And we've seen all of this popping up across the web already, right? There are some podcasts that I listen to, some prominent names, right, in the industry, and they already having problems with that. People are creating clones of them, asking for money or asking to invest in a crypto coin, and they are trying them hard to take this down, and they go get in touch with Meta, and depending on how big you are, they're not gonna listen, right? And then that creates a big problem, right? So if you're just a regular person, you almost have no rights against these massive corporations. I think this is helping them, because you can get serious fines if you don't do this. So I think this is a good move. So then platforms will be legally required to remove these deepfakes, or they're gonna face, huge fines.
Yeah.
There's a caveat. Parodies and they are still protected. So you still have, comedy does a lot of that, right? You just take somebody and then you just make fun of them, especially if they are a celebrity. That's still allowed, because that's still under the, let's say, freedom of speech, or you're allowed to criticize somebody. It's your opinion, right?
Yeah.
I guess it falls into that category. But the moment it will start extracting, there's some financial incentives there, then it becomes like a fraud or a crime.
But doesn't create some kind of movement? For example, if I say some shit, here in the podcast, I say something really bad.
You say that all the time.
Yeah. So, for example, if I say something really bad, and then I just like argue, oh, there was the deep fake wasn't me. They just take my face and created this content. So, like, kind of dangerous to have this kind of law too. So, can I like just sue Meta? Say like, I know it wasn't me, and then of course it would be my opinion against their opinion. Know what I mean? Like, so is there something that can prove that it's AI generated, or is something that it's can prove that it's me? Like something, because it doesn't look like clear at least in this. If they're gonna create like,
I mean, I think then it's about also it's a mix of ethics, right? Because if you said something bad, you have to assume and face the consequences. You're not gonna invent like that you didn't do it, that somebody replicated, because you won't be able to prove that that's there causing harm, right? And I think it's not about that what you said. It's about like I mentioned before, like because the scammers have financial
advantages.
They want to extract people's money, right? So it's deep fakes are there to not just to maybe it's not just to no.
The thing is that, for example, if they create a deep fake of Trump, and then he said like, okay, I'm gonna send a missile to Russia tomorrow at noon, I don't know. And then there's a response that is deep fake too, This kind of stuff. It can be dangerous if you think about the presidents of the countries, or even other stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I think the point of this law is not to protect powerful people already, because they can just, Trump is suing everybody these days, so you can basically sue somebody else if you have the money for like billions, and I think the law is to protect us. There are not celebrities, there were not like famous people that have the financial means to actually go and sue Meta because you scan like a handful of people, right? So I guess it's to protect the common people, not or the whole population, not the celebrities.
Yes.
They have their own ways to fight this.
No, of course.
If it's effective or not, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you think about the speed of internet, so for example, if you create a deepfake, it's probably, and it's something super absurd, it's gonna be all over in minutes, It should be a concern for everyone, because everyone is kind of course, celebrities or politicians, they're big, as you said, like they have their own farms, their own Instagrams, and anything. They can just say it wasn't me, stuff like that. But at some point, I don't know, it can become dangerous anyway, like for anyone.
Yeah.
So,
but isn't it good then to have a law that can protect you from that?
Yeah. But the thing is that it can be misused. Of course, anything can be misused. For example, I can say something and then that is bad in public, and then I just say like, okay, it wasn't me, it was AI generated. Of course, I need to prove that. The question is like, are they creating some kind of a stamp or signature that can prove that it's me, and not it's this is something that wasn't clear for me, like in this law,
I think you're misinterpreting this, because it's not about what you said, it's about what you haven't said, that somebody else is trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's to protect if us, we have a problem and then somebody clone you, for example, and then you are now on Instagram, and then you are on X with this fake video asking people to invest in your meme coin, right? And then then somebody else is making a lot of money on that, and then you try to get in touch with Meta by their official channels, which are already crappy, right? You just try to like, oh look, there's this is a fake video of me. I haven't said that. I'm not trying to sell this coin, whatever. And they never get back to you, because it's a massive company. They cannot go and find this. or maybe they get in touch and they try to remove, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Then, if you don't have a law that helps you with that, then you're fucked, basically. Just nobody's gonna care, right? But if you have a law, you can go and say, look, now you have to take this down, or you're gonna have to pay me, I don't know, $100 million, because it's gonna be
Like that.
It's the European Union, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna go heavy on the fine. So these companies cannot ignore this. They will do what is necessary to actually to fix that. So you need to have the law on your side, otherwise you're powerless.
Yeah.
They're too powerful to give a fuck about just regular people. I guess that's the point.
Yeah, no, I do understand that, and just creating situations that are complex situations, Because I seen some scams here in Brazil, like some courses, they were doing like advertisement. Some scammers were doing advertisement of courses on Instagram and on Facebook. You could see that there wasn't the person that was selling the course, it was someone else's. I don't know, just to get the money of the people, that want to buy the real course. And then it happens with other stuff, like, as you said, like some, especially the bets, this kind of casino games and stuff like that. It was happening a lot here in Brazil, so I totally understand what you're saying. I'm just creating situations and reflecting about that.
Hi, if you're enjoying this episode, if this podcast has sparked something in you, made you think differently, or simply kept you company today, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. It doesn't cost anything, but it means the world to us. Your support helps us reach more people and continue investing in content that inspires, informs, and gives it back to you. We appreciate your support. Thank you. Yeah, sure. And but I think it's at least somebody needs to start doing something about this, right? Because it's gonna go really fast. And I think I'm glad I live in Denmark, right? So I'm glad that they are actually doing this here. It might be one of the first countries to have this and to treat basically personal likeness as intellectual property, and hopefully others will follow suit, right, and then adopt this.
Yeah, and can it reflect on, for example, if I'm filming a video on the street, and then someone in the background is kind of there's you are in the background, and you're not aware that I'm recording a video, and then I just post it on YouTube. Can you just say, okay, that's my intellectual property that it's appearing in the video, that's my image. I don't want that to be there.
But that already happens, right? So if you're recording a video, there is more people around. You should get their permission, or you have to blur their faces.
Yeah.
For any recording of any sort that is in public, you have to get people's consent for showing them. Otherwise, they can sue you. This is already. It happens. So, for example, if you're recording a film or a TV documentary and you are on the streets, you not just the person that you're interviewing, for example, will have to get the consent, but all the people around. And they can say, no, I don't want to be in the video. I don't want to sign anything. And then you have to blur their faces.
Yeah.
So they don't get recognized. So this is it already happens, but there's not a law that will defend you in this case. If you want to sue somebody because they showed you're on your own. But with this specifically, of course, it needs to be specifically AI generated, right?
Yeah.
So if you generated somebody else there, that's where this applies, and then you can use the full power of the
law.
The legal, the legal system to actually help you, and then go and try to get compensation for what the platforms should be responsible for. If they didn't take it down, they are responsible for it. And today is kind of like very blurred.
Yeah, it is. They don't have a...
They usually don't take responsibility for what other people post, but that's very bad. So...
Yeah, but...
So there's some talking points in regards to... in general, this has been... that in general, this idea have been getting a lot of support, especially from artists and educators and also lawyers, right? But people are there are some worries, right? So there's some questions that will this limit creative use of AI in films and games, right? How will the enforcement will happen, right? What if a deepfake goes viral before it can be taken down? Like I think you talked about this, right? So
Yeah, and I feel that it's kind of hard for the companies to put a lot of and to put a lot of people looking for the videos, and taking down. Of course, they need to have a team to do that, but at the same time, you cannot be responsible for what people are doing in your platform. You need to, of course, you need to take down and then report that, but it shouldn't be responsible for what people are saying, because then it's not a social media. It's just like a private company, like doing their own rules.
what do you mean?
I mean, like, for example, if someone puts some hate, on social media or Nazi stuff, it's not the platform that is doing that. It's someone is doing that. A person is doing that. So this person should be responsible for that, not the platform itself. I think the platform
So you're talking.
should put down this content, a report for the police or authorities, to take legal actions on the person itself, not on the platform. You know what I mean?
So what you just said is what all these platforms say. They always say that we just provide the platform. We don't know, or we don't care about what people express in that platform, even if it causes harm, right? But that's where the hypocrisy comes from, because those are media companies. You cannot deny that these are media companies. Today, there are more people watching YouTube and on social media than reading newspapers and watching TV, right? So, but on the other hand, TV channels and newspapers, they are responsible for the stuff that they publish. So if, let's say, the New York
but they're
Times,
creating
let's
this
just give an
content.
example.
They are responsible for the content they're creating.
But people are creating content as well.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, you were hired by...
There's a lot of fake news.
Okay, but
right?
you were hired by this company to do the job that you were doing. For example, a journalist, they are hired by New York Times to write an article and stuff like that for that journal. So of course their content are private, So the company as a whole needs to be responsible for that. But if you open a social media that anyone can talk about anything and do whatever you want, well, how can you be responsible for if you're not paying that person? They're not related to the company itself. I don't have a contract with the company saying, okay, I'm paying you to do this content, So the person is publishing their own stuff. So this material that we are creating right now, they are our responsibility, even though we are sharing their platforms, So I feel that this balance should be really well cared, because then you can have the freedom of speech, like kind of in a target, If you restrain anyone to talk, or if you start restraining some points that are of course harm, but then at some point, I don't know if a government takes power, they're just like super.
I'm not saying the government should. I think it's regulation, but regulation should be separated from government as well. So they should regulate in general. But let me just say another thing, right? So it's okay. The person, you're responsible for what you're saying, but the platforms, they have algorithms that understand that that's a controversial message, and then they propagate that because that brings more money for them. They are having financial incentives for propagating fake news or news that are, or hate speech, and so they are getting money out of your own message. So where is that ethical? Aren't they responsible if they're actually making a fortune by just propagating shit? So
yeah.
And that happens because they control the algorithms. They created that because it benefits them. So it's just you just need to interpret it in a different way.
Yeah.
And they're still a private company. They're just using you as the content provider, but but they're still taking your message and magnifying it. Then what? Who is responsible if it's causing a lot of harm, right? And
Yeah, of course. I understand that point, but at the same time, I just feel that
I think
if you restrain too much, then you finish with what is the core of social media, the freedom of speech, and people have their own channels to talk wherever they want it. Because I feel that is important for our society, and in some places, if you restrain this, and this, who is controlling that? For example, usually the governments and regulations are done by governments. So I feel that it's dangerous to just restrain that, even though it's harm. Of course, there's a lot of shit that can be spread all over, but if you restrain people to speak, then we are doing a step that I'm not comfortable with, and so that's, I don't know. I think we should have the freedom to speak, and we're gonna be responsible for what we say.
I agree with that, but we cannot. That's the problem where we're getting today, and I think that's a bigger discussion. We're kind of diverging here a little bit,
Yeah.
but just to finalize, I think that's the biggest discussion, right? So who is responsible for what, in a way that if it's all about the balance, right? When do you find the balance of what it makes sense to keep, and what do it make sense to remove, right? And then the most important is that who should decide that should be outside of both these companies and outside of the government, and so it should be an independent body that understands, because anyway we still live in a society. So if we don't have rules, of otherwise, otherwise it's chaos, right? So I think we need to find that balance, and nobody found that yet.
Maybe
That's
the
why
balance
we're
is
in
like,
this mess.
as you said, sometimes this super extreme commentators, or even this contender is super extreme, in both sides. They usually go viral super quick because they're some absurd, the people are saying. So this kind of content might lose some of the algorithms spread, Something like that could be benefited. Or for example, when YouTube thinks that you are saying something harm, they just limited the amount of money that you can do from YouTube, for example. This kind of limits, maybe they should be something to think about it, Restrain a little bit the content, the spread of the message.
Yeah, I agree. But the only thing for that to work, it's not the company that is going to do that for themselves, because by doing that, it means that they're going to make less money. So they need a regulatory body that they will say, no, you need to do this, even if it's not going to make more money, because this is it's a societal issue. It's bigger than you.
Yeah.
So we need to control this. But they're not going to do that by themselves, because it's not financial interest for them.
Yeah.
So it's that fine balance that we need to find, and we haven't found that yet, especially with technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we just went a little bit sideways, but it was an interesting discussion. But yeah, in regards to just going back to the law, I think it's interesting that they are doing this. It's I feel a bit safer that I know, if, especially now that we have a podcast, where our faces everywhere, that if we get scammed, then I'll have the law on my side.
Yeah, it is important to have this.
No, but that's it. I think we just wanted to comment a little bit on this new law. It's about to go and vote now, very soon, and it's going to be, I think by fall, it's going to take into place. It's most likely to be approved because most of the parties in the parliament are really in favor of it. So
can I just ask you something? Do you need to register yourself in the government? Like, for example, do you need to go there and then register your face, your voice, and then, I don't know, take photos of your body? How does that work?
it's not clear. I think they just want to approve and then we're gonna figure it out what's gonna be the next steps. But I don't think we should do anything because you should be able to
prove that you.
It should be easy to prove that you're not you, or I don't know. But we're gonna see. But I think it's a good initiative, so that's why it was nice to talk about it.
It is.
Cool. We reached the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. See you next week.